You'd think I would have practiced some of this, like, a little bit. Um, but you'd think wrong. So I do see, like, if I'm oh, and I'm echoing. Okay, yeah. The echo was because I had my Twitch tab unmuted, and I yep. I am somebody who understands technology and knows what I'm doing. Um, so how the fuck? Um, sorry. Does anybody know in OBS how I can bring the chat up and view it in OBS, or is this something where I just have to do it from like Stream Manager? Uh, Hello. If we are doing the Uwu speak, I can do that. Something with OBS. You have not fucked around with OBS. Okay. I am clearly. I suppose this is probably a good thing because it's allowing me to like tone things down a little. Because I am pretty keyed up from the news today. So let's see. Okay. Thank you, Fluffy Blue. I am going to check that out. Hello, tiny bastard. I thought that giving her her breakfast earlier today was going to be something that would prevent her from fussing, and I was incorrect. She is a fussy baby. Custom browser docs. Okay. All right. So I guess the deal is in Twitch, I pop out the chat. I copy that URL. I go into OBS. I name the doc whatever and give it a URL and apply. Sorry, whatever is my dad's least favorite word, so I do like naming things whatever. And now it wants me to log in. So, and when I log in, I'm going to have to grab my what's this? My authenticator from Bitwarden, or authentication from Bitwarden Authenticator, because I did actually get Bitwarden Authenticator set up. I know, Buggo. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry you're having the worst time. Oh wait, is this? Maybe I just leave the window open. Maybe I don't worry about doing this with OBS and I just leave the window open and say okay on that and bring this up and close that and narrow this screen and sorry, thank you for watching me do live production. um so yeah, okay. She is the cutest fussy baby. One of the things that I've decided to do this time around for the stream is to have some videos up in case I need to step away. And one of the things that I have up is a 9-minute edit of her crying that I think I've posted. Hello. I also, everybody, if you don't know, I'm dyslexic. I am gonna try to read names, but it's not gonna go well. So Core, hi. Yeah, no, so the 9-minute edit of her making adorable tiny baby noises is actually something that I'm going to put on now so that I am not on stream giving her an injection. So let's see, where did I put that? Yeah, okay. critter noises, and we're gonna expand, and we're gonna hit.
I love that she's just experimenting with the sounds that are getting the most attention.
Can we hear that? Is it too obnoxious? Hi, binary star. All right. Hopefully that's not like painful to listen to. Can we hear it? Okay. I'm gonna hide myself real quick and give her her shot, and then I'll be right back. Okay, I'm no longer muted, I hope. I always forget when the thing is up or down, so, okay, yay. Yeah, so what I was saying was the video of Tiny Bastard was, uh, when Large Bastard was in the hospital for his transplant. He was in the hospital for like 6 months. He, of course, couldn't see the baby for the most part, so, I edited together all of the like tiny videos that I had made of her being very cute over the years and like chopped it up to make that. And he annoyed his nurses with it for like 3 or 4 months. They were very polite about how cute they thought the video was, but I'm sure that they got sick of it. But he seemed to quite enjoy it. So I've made a couple more since then, and I have a large collection of Tiny Bastard videos that I need to compile into yet another little tiny baby sounds list. So. Hi folks, how we doing? Happy end of the world. Happy Saturday. Yeah. In case it is not abundantly clear, I am pretty profoundly anti-war and have been for a very, very long time. And I'm pretty anti-imperialist and have been for quite a long time. And so I had a little trouble turning off the news to come here. So, but yeah, I hope everybody Bixby's got it right on an individual level. I hope everybody's doing okay. The world's on fire. The world's always on fire to some extent. It's always on fire for someone. So hopefully we push through. I am going to talk today about how to find protests in your area, if that's something that you're interested in. But I figure maybe I'll do that later today. I should probably tell people on Tumblr, which is my primary social media, that I'm actually live right now, shouldn't I? I should probably link them to the stream, shouldn't I? Where did it go? Okay. I actually can't see anything. I bet my ability to see this is blocked by some extension or another that I've added to make things more secure. So hopefully there's something that shows up as like an image or a link when I post that. We'll see. Sorry, again, my head's a little fucked right now. Does that even... What the fuck? Okay, we're gonna just edit that, sorry. Sorry everybody, this is, you're getting the raw and filtered Ally ADHD experience. So, and if you are in the chat right now, I'm actually not gonna screenshot the chat because I don't wanna, I wanna give people a heads up if, sorry, I'm just having one of those days. I think we're all having one of those days. Okay, I should be doing less like behind the scenes production now and should be able to pay attention as well. I'm never able to pay attention. Who the fuck is able to pay? Oh, I screenshotted the wrong thing. Sorry. Hi guys. Hi. Sorry. Hi. I even took my meds today. Like like what the fuck? I should I should be better than this when I've taken my meds, but apparently I am not right now. Yeah, sorry. Hi. Yeah, hi. I was like kind of like this the last time I saw my therapist, and her response was, "You are maybe the most dysregulated that I've ever seen you when we're talking like this and scattered like this. So I would like you to try to like ground and center yourself before you do anything this evening." And I didn't at that point, and I'm probably not going to now. But yeah, this is not. I'm going to say it's not completely normal for me, but it's not totally abnormal either. So, okay, okay, so I am back to someplace where I should be capable of focusing. Yes. Yes, hello, Snappy Films. It is day. Day has happened. Also, folks may have noticed I added some VIPs in the chat from folks who were particularly chatty last week because I didn't know that was a thing that I can do. But now that I know that I can do it, if I see you around, like expect to get that. Oh, you're bugging me for more peas. Okay. Yeah, tiny bastard wants some peas added as a garnish to her food because she has been a good girl and had her shot. So, um, yeah, losing the brain function. It's the multiple windows, multiple monitors, like switching back and forth between the layers and everything like that. It's um, yes, Tiny Bastard's whims do absolutely come first. She is the boss. She is the best. She's been a good little baby. Her vision is getting worse, and so she did not see at least three of the kitties that were in the yard today when she went outside, which was good for the kitties and kind of a relief. But I'm a little worried about the little blind buggo. Yeah, I don't think I want to. Fluffy Blue. I do. She's so good. But I do plan on allowing people to post links. At the moment, I think everybody can post links because I don't think that I have enough people who are going to be popping in here for it to be an issue. But if I don't, we're gonna make sure that people can. Like, I want to do as much as possible to like not limit people in the chat. And eventually, I know it's just gonna be like, yeah, people who are followers for X amount of time will be able to post links or something like that. Yeah. I I suppose that adding RAM to our brains right now would not be great simply because the prices, man, the prices. So, which is a thing that we're going to talk about because it's a thing that this is kind of about. Uh, I got a second email this week from a vendor saying like, "Hey, get your orders in before the end of the month because we're not going to be able to honor prices after the end of the month, and we expect them to increase." Last week it was an email about Lenovo prices going up 10 to 15% and Microsoft ending its deal registration program with vendors, and this week it was Dell. It was Dell computers that are going to be, going up. So, uh, I was looking at things. I had to. Oh my God. Okay, who is everybody in the mood for like a everything in my work is insane story? I hope so, because man, I have those. Oh, true. Feral biologist. Oh, I think I recognize that username from. I recognize a lot of username from Tumblr, but this is also something that happens to me. Like when I'm reading generally, is like I don't. I recognize shapes of words, not always words. So like I probably I probably recognize you, but I don't 100% know if I recognize you. But hi. But yeah, okay. So work stories. This fucking program that we use. Uh, it's a it's a nightmare program. It's the worst. I fucking hate it. It's terrible. Everybody who like there are 3 or 4 major programs that do what this program does at work. Yes, it is work story time. There are yeah, a few programs that do what I need it to do for work, and it's up to the CEO, business owner, business manager, and things like that to decide what we're using. We've been talking to a different company because we don't like the company we're working with, and the company that Gary owned, the one that I worked at before that was acquired, used a different program than this one uses, and it had different processes. So, for instance, while both are browser based, the previous one was in its own container, whereas this other one just lives in the browser. It's just a fucking website that pops open Windows, and it pops open Windows for fucking everything. So it's very frequent when I am in the middle of my workday for me to have 20 to 30 windows open for this program alone, because I, of course, forget to close Windows. So I've tried to manage this with some like tab wrangling and everything like that. But when I am placing orders and at the moment I think I've only got 4 windows open, but like eventually if you have enough windows open, Firefox won't even display like a little pop-up in the so like here it'll do a pop-up where it's showing me the 3 windows that are open. When you get to enough, it'll just start listing them. So, but yeah, because the deal is like, okay, so say if I'm like looking at the overall program, like, all right, I'm looking at the program and then I want to go search for a client. I type in a client name, the client comes up, or a list of clients that have like those included characters comes up. I click on the client, that pops open a new window. And from there, like it gives you a general overview. So then you have to click that window into detail in order to view any sort of detail from it. So say from there, I want to view like contacts. So I click on contacts and then I see the person who I want. Contacts opens a new window. If I want tickets, the ticket will open a new window. If I want to look at an invoice, the invoice will open a new window, and just window. And so there's just a ton of stuff where like it just it generates so many, and especially since I'm moving through several of them at a time, and I'm usually doing 4 or 5 things at once. Yeah, it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare. It makes me insane. Since I will be doing 4 or 5 things at once, like, yeah, it'll be like, okay, cool, we're talking to, Acme products and we need this. So let me go open the client for Acme products so that I can view Acme products. Let me open their primary page for information so that I can see their address. But because I need the email address for this contact and their phone number, I need to click on the contact, open that in a different window and go get that because you can't see their email from like the general list. It's just terrible. So that's the background. That's how this works generally. So for the actual thing that was making me fucking insane that I found out about yesterday was in order to add hardware to a ticket, in order for us to invoice hardware, we have to create a ticket. From the ticket, we have to create an opportunity. From the opportunity, we have to create a quote. From the quote, we can add the parts to the quote. Once the quote is approved, we can win the opportunity. Once the opportunity is won, it goes into the inventory module. If it's in the inventory module, you can go to purchasing and fulfillment. From purchasing and fulfillment, you can check each of the items that come from a particular vendor and turn those into a PO. Once you've got the PO created, you can place the order. And then after all of that, what I have been doing, so okay, after you've done all of that and you know that you've received the part, you can invoice the client. In order to invoice the client, you have to go to contracts. From contracts, you have to go to approve and post. From approve and post, you have to search within a defined time period by the client name. And you can't just do a partial search. You have to wait until it pops up and populates with like an option for you to select for the client. So you do a search, and you specifically have to do it not only under contracts, but you have to do it under contracts and charges. So you have to search the charges for a defined period of time. You can't just do an open forever thing because it limits it to like 24 months or something. Once those are approved and posted, so you check the items to approve and post, you can then go into items to invoice. From items to invoice, you can check the client information that you want to invoice, making sure that you're not doing any charges that you're not supposed to be doing. And you can then preview the invoice and send the invoice after you've chosen to apply like a template or something like that. With all of that, as it turns out, when a client approves a quote, it changes the opportunity from sent to ready to invoice. But once you invoice it, it doesn't change the opportunity from ready to invoice to closed. It changes the stage of the invoice to closed, but not, or of the opportunity to closed, but not the status. And nobody told me that the status needs to be set to closed at the end in order for us to verify that things have been purchased. So since September of 2024, I haven't fucking done this. And now that we're moving me out of procurement, I have to go back and do this to 400 fucking things and find the fucking invoice number that goes with the fucking opportunity that I made. Several of which, like, I only started invoicing for my own shit starting in like April of last year. So they're like 400 or so that I have to go through, and I have to go through and do them for my trainee, who, because I never knew that I needed to do this, also didn't know that we needed to do this. And as it turns out, when you're going through the one opportunity wizard that you can do, there's actually a setting to fucking change it to stage closed so that you don't have to go back and do this again. So we could just do that and have that opportunity sitting there, and then when we... I hate it here. I hate it here. I'm gonna scroll back a little through chat because I know that I was doing enough of that I didn't read a bunch of stuff. So hi if anybody's popped in, but Kit Kats now, yeah, that is awful. I have tried to force it to open in one tab, and apparently there is a setting buried deep within the program that will allow you to do it, and somebody kind of showed it to me the other day. Oh, she is climbing into her little bed. She is going to snuggle up. She's so good. Yeah, so apparently there is a way to force it, and I'm going to figure out how to do it, because I tried to force it through Firefox itself, and I could not force Firefox to make it just open in the same fucking window, which was annoying as fuck. Yeah, that's just the set dressing. The point of technology is efficiency. No, the point of technology frequently is ass covering, and as it turns out, that's what this has been. I do not need to climb Mount Everest, but I do need to document. It is definitely a needlessly convoluted process. Koromara, I am very glad that this has given you a reason to stop doom scrolling. Hopefully it is a entertaining and educational experience, even if it's not necessarily going to be a calming experience. Ask not the sun. I do like that you are asking me if the moon has to be in the right phase to make each request. So the problem with all of this is, like, I've described the number of steps in each thing. The problem with all of this that makes everything so much worse is the ADHD, because every step is a fucking step, and so it's a barrier. So, like, it's convincing myself to do every single fucking step. So sometimes what I can do is I can set a timer and just be like, I'm going to go through as many of these as I possibly can. We're going to do it now. Bang, 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 bang. Sometimes that works, but frequently it doesn't. Frequently it's like, aha, I have won all of the opportunities. Great. Ordering is later Allie's problem. So, which is part of why it's not a bad thing necessarily that we do have to go through and verify that shit's been ordered. But I swear to God. Yeah, I am not going to confirm nor deny whether or not I am committing crimes on company times, because you don't talk about committing crimes on the internet. It is horrific. I think there are some juries that would convict me, but they're mostly made up of CEOs. And it is definitely a system. Oh, hey, thank you. Swivel says no. Hello, hello, hello. I hope it would be. It sounds so fucking stupid to say, like, I want to become a social media influencer so that I can quit my stupid job. But it's like, okay, on the other hand, like, fuck it, the world's on fire, might as well try. Goldleaf, hello, welcome. It is terrible. For Binary Star, you're asking if the creator gets paid by the tab or the click. I'm not certain which thing you're asking for. For the stupid program. The problem is, so, like, okay, my company is obviously 4 companies in a trench coat that we're trying to make into one company. This company that we're working with is like 17 companies in a trench coat that they've all purchased, and have, like, not actually merged the things that they work with together. And that's actually exactly why I don't necessarily want to stay with this company, is because I don't want to work for that company. That company fucking sucks. But yes. Yeah, the the acceleration, yes, and the puzzle spotted. She has snuggled. Okay, so here, look. I don't know if I showed this last. No, no, no. You don't have to get up. You're fine. You're fine. You're fine. It's okay. So yeah, I don't know if I showed this last week. I have this adorable little nook that I'm trying to get her to go into that she is just like against. So part of why she was crying earlier was because I had picked up all of the beds in the room except for one that was in there to see if I could get her to go into the adorable little nook, and she was not fucking having it. She wanted the bed that she was in just now, but only that bed and not under there. So again, yeah, she is the boss. She's in charge. Yes. I actually, Fluffy Blue, I had a conversation with a coworker. Also, by the way, I know there's a delay on this because I'm reading through the entire chat. I should probably catch up at some point. But uh, so this is not Astro Chris. This is not the computer build stream. This is a kind of like chill chat, go over a couple things stream. The computer build stream for the Linux stream, I think, is probably going to be Wednesday this week. I am waiting on some RAM to arrive, and I think I'm going to install that also. And we will be going through the process of creating an ISO, doing a fucking checksum on the. That's my least favorite part of installing Linux ever, is checking the fucking installer file, and then getting it installed on the machine and running through updates and things like that. But not right now. That's going to be later in the week. But yeah, the doggo making the tired side. Okay, sorry. I've probably got to scroll and catch up. Um, Yeah. Okay. Also, yeah, KitKats now the C-suite shouldn't be the ones who are deciding what to use. We are currently fighting with the fact that like it is an investor who is the one who is refusing to step away from this program. So, uh, the oh my God. Okay. Also, Fluffy Blue. So we had the new acquisition and everything like that. They wanted to do 3 acquisitions last year. They want to do 3 acquisitions this year. I have straight up said to the CEO, if you do 2 more acquisitions this year, I am fucking quitting. So, um, and yes, Bixby, the tiny creature is again in charge, is the boss. Astro Chris Sam, she is never wrong, only grumpy. And yes, chill is variable. This is chill for me. Yes, checksum necessary. Yeah, being necessary, my beloved. Like that's something that like I want to tell people like you don't really have to. However, from a security perspective, I cannot. Oh, also, yes, hopefully you will be able to catch that. The other thing is, Astro Chris, sorry, so much ADHD. The other thing is, I am going to be keeping VODs up for as long as allowed, and I have created a YouTube channel specifically where I will be uploading VODs for each stream, sometimes edited, sometimes not, just so that it stays up there. And nope, don't be sorry for any distractions because everything is a distraction. You're fine. So if you miss a stream, and I'll tell people on Tumblr this also, but if you miss a stream, like there will be a way to see it, and I want to make sure that it's, if there's something that's particularly useful, or that like we go over like an important topic or something like that, or like I actually end up making a really good explainer on accident and can't recreate it later because, like then I want to make sure that it's going to remain available. So I am going to make sure these are available. So, and I am caught up with chat now. Thank you. So, but yeah, back to checksums being necessary. Like there was an issue where the source for Mint in like 2016 was infected. Somebody had a compromised file, exploited file that they put up for the official like download for Linux Mint, and so people had like they basically accidentally installed a backdoor in their machines. Yeah, again, nightmare scenario. There's a part of me that's like, I don't have to. It'll be fine. I can tell people that they don't have to, and it's like the deal is I just do it so infrequently that I forget how to fucking do it, and then I get frustrated trying to go fucking do it. So the reason we're doing this on Wednesday is so that I can actually walk through the process by myself off camera, so that I'm not swearing up a storm and getting pissed at myself and delaying things. So yeah, it's so people are frequently intimidated by Linux. Also, by the way, Ray LaFay, that's cute. I like that. Yeah, people are intimidated by Linux frequently because there are some distros that are intimidating. There are some where you're doing less interaction with like a graphic interface and more like terminal stuff and things like that. I think a lot of people are intimidated by stuff that is terminal or command or text based. I am, and again, the dyslexia and ADHD is a part of that. But for the most part, like once you've got it installed, running it should just be like running Windows or running iOS. It's just you just run updates on it, you get it installed. It's the installation that's the scary part. Sometimes you'll have issues where there are conflicts with like, hardware, and it can be a little bit more of a pain in the ass to like track down drivers. But if you're using a basic version, like, and that's kind of why I try to start people out on Mint as much as possible, is because it's like it's the training wheels. So OBS Studio, or not OBS Studio, uh sorry, Large Bastard had to teach me how to say this, but Ubuntu, I had the N and the B transposed forever. So Ubuntu, I think Ubuntu Studio is what I'm going to be installing on the machine that I've got, and the machine that I've got is a secondhand computer that was brought in to work 2-3 years ago, something like that, which is a Alienware M15 with a 12th gen Core i7 processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and a 512 gig SSD. And I'm going to be throwing in another 16 gigs of RAM, and I think that's going to just primarily be my streaming machine. And then I didn't read the chat for a sec, so I'm going to catch up again. So, Leonberry, hi. I don't know if I said hi yet. Uh, Any drivers for a pressure-sensitive stylus? That I do not know. I can check with Large Bastard, though, because he uses Cinnamon and uses it more as his day-to-day than I do. Yeah, and it should not be that scary. It should not be that scary. Yeah, if you losing the password on anything is that's actually another thing that I'm going to do before I set things up, is I'm going to put the password information for the computer that I'm going to be setting up into Bitwarden before I set this up. Again, using a password manager and using it to pre-plan things can really help with this. Obviously, your password manager is not going to be auto-filling things as you're logging into your computer, but it should be a place where, just in case, you keep your passwords so that you know that, like, even if you do get locked out of this machine, you've got this, or you've got a recovery key. It sucks that you were locked out. It may have to just be a reinstall. I'm sorry. Um, Computer stylus. Yeah. I mean, there's a very decent possibility that Linux will run on your 13-year-old desktop. There is some distro or another that will run on your 13-year-old desktop. I use MX Lite on my EPC, which is an 11-inch netbook that I carried in college with like a gig of RAM. So and yeah, don't be scared of it. It's pretty. Yeah, installing from a stack of floppies was not fun. Okay. Yeah. And again, I, there are backdoors that I'm aware of into Windows systems. If you lose your password for it, with whatever distro of Linux you have, you would definitely have to ask around people in the forums specifically for that distro to see if there was a way to get in once you had lost your password. But with Linux, probably not, because it's not supposed to let you do that. But yeah. And also the other thing about getting locked out of any machine is part of why it's important to make sure that you're running backups relatively regularly, even on a Linux machine. I run backups less frequently than I should, but I try to, like, at least quarterly make sure I've got an image of whatever my primary machine is, and a couple times a year do a full backup of all the files. So, ooh, archives internship, that is so cool. Yeah, so I'm not super aware of I'm not I'm beginning to dig into how to set up a DB server myself, and it is a little intimidating. So hopefully we will discover things together. Okay, once I've installed the software, okay, yeah, no, it should be quite the same. And okay, cool. Yeah, the Reddit forums, and like sometimes I haven't been on the actual like official Mint forums for a while, but like yeah, if you go ask around on Reddit, or see if other people have, like they may be able to help out specifically for Mint or Cinnamon. But yeah, I am definitely going to be uploading the VODs. I have not yet, and I will, but I will also make an announcement about that on Tumblr so that people can bookmark or follow or whatever. And I'm also, in addition to that, hopefully going to be making some separate videos so it's not the full length VOD, because man, I talk a lot and I can go for a long time. So, yeah. And I would say Leon Berry to definitely check the, because this is exactly where Linux does become a pain in the ass, is when you're trying to get like two kinds of like hardware to talk to the operating system and to each other, and like that's the sort of thing where unfortunately, Microsoft being Microsoft and having fucking everything because they're a giant is, they've got everything. Whereas with Linux, it's like, yeah, sometimes people don't encode for those specific situations. But yeah, I am going to try to shy away from over-promising to do too much like direct research for people. But if you wanted to send the model number of your computer and the stylus to either Misdemeanor or CompuSever or OK Computer as an ask, I could see if there was something that I could do to help find the the stuff that you would need. But I can't make promises. I can't make promises because you shouldn't, because I'm a fucking disaster. So anyway, we do have like a little bit of an agenda today because we talked about stuff last week and I wanted to go through it, and I did also want to make sure that I am doing price updates for OK Computer because people need computers. Oh yes, this is a fidget spinner pen. It, it's it, it is not a very good fidget spinner. Like it doesn't have like good bearings or anything like that, but it is excellently fidgety. I got it last week, and it also has little light. So, um, but yes, that is very satisfying. I also have a fidget ring on. So yeah, these are fun, and the fidget ring I had when I went on my trip to Oregon. That was the first time I had tried fidget rings, and I had one that I really liked from the set. Um, and then I didn't think about it, and I went to the beach, and I got sand stuck in it, and it doesn't spin anymore, and I'm sad. And then I couldn't find any of the other rings from the set, so I had to reorder a set. And then after reordering the set, they came in, and then I found the original rings that I lost because that's what happens. But yeah, this unfortunately was just an Amazon purchase, and it was for fidget spinner pen. So, um, yeah, the CEO at work, in order to like prove that I am interested in like being a functional adult human being, like he's really big into this organization system called the Franklin Covey like time system and everything like that. There's validity to it. I can see how it would be useful for a lot of people. I can also see how it would be like a complete like failure for somebody with ADHD because it's like a little bit reliant on time blocking and organization. But I bought a cheap notebook that had the kind of Franklin Covey pages because the actual pages are really stupid expensive. It's like $100 to refill a notebook for it. So I bought like a $7 notebook that does the same kind of thing. And I was like, well, in order to incentivize like using the notebook, I'm going to get myself some fun pens. So got my little fidget spinner pens. But yeah. Yes, and I do always find it after the replacement comes. This is specifically why Large Bastard and I are not allowed to mix tools, because he has stolen so many of my sets of tools, and he has had to buy so many sets of tools because he'll be working on something, he doesn't put the stuff away after the fact, and he can't find it, then he needs the tools to work on stuff, and so he'll just go to Harbor Freight and buy another like cheap set of wrenches or a cheap set of sockets or something like that. So his tools live in like 3 5-gallon buckets that are scattered around the yard, and my tools live in a very organized notebook of, well, not notebook, but a very organized tool bag that is in my car. So, but yeah. And yeah, so let's see. Okay. Anyway, okay, so I griped about work. that was worthwhile. Glad to get that off my chest and yell about that. Hopefully I'm not dealing with too much of a delay. I'm looking at my list from last week. But let's see. We were going to talk about the Bitwarden Authenticator app, parting versus pre-built, and documentation for real people. And I can't remember who it was who had asked for documentation for real people, but I don't remember. But yeah, that was somebody in chat last week. I think that it was Bixby who was asking about the parting versus pre-built. So that's 4 to 5 seconds. That's not as bad. Okay, Kit Kats now documentation. Okay, sorry, I just clicked the pen. You don't click the pen to get the pen out. Okay. And I just did it again. So the documentation is that's the one that I forgot to talk about when we were talking about stuff last week. And that is also like complicated because it depends on what you're trying to document. So I do process documentation, which is a little bit different than like when you are annotating code or anything like that. So it sort of depends what you're looking for. When I am doing process documentation, it's very similar to, actually here, I've got a good example of it. Main page, I was on the main page, of course I was. Recipes. A recipe is basically process documentation. So I tend to go overboard, and that's actually part of why I have written the recipes here the way that I have, is like, you know, they're very, very explicit step by step. And that's specifically because I know that a lot of people who are cooking and who are taking things literally have a lot of trouble with like ambiguity in the way that like steps are described. So that's why I have written things like as explicitly as I have here, because people get scared by cooking and the possible ambiguity of it, and they're worried about fucking things up or burning things or whatever. So I try to eliminate as much of that as possible in writing recipes, and I try to eliminate all of it when I'm writing process documentation. And I think at the end of the last stream, I had talked about the making toast analogy, where, you know, I had to give a speech on how to do something, and I had to have at least 20 steps, and the thing that I gave instructions for was making toast, and I got marked down because I didn't say what direction you were supposed to put the bread when you put it into the toaster. There are tons of videos that demonstrate the same concept, like a dad having his kids tell him how to make peanut butter and jelly sandwiches, but they don't give him explicit enough instructions, and so, you know, he puts the peanut butter and jelly on the sides of the bread and then sticks them together, you know, so it's long ways, or like, you know, he uses the knife and stabs through the bread, because leaving that room for ambiguity, you were going to find somebody who makes the choice to do whatever it was that you didn't expect them to do. So when I am doing documentation, I usually will run through the process of what I am doing, like physically, at least once. And then I will often record a video of me doing the same process. And after I've recorded the video, I will go through and, while not looking at the video, write basic steps for whatever it is that I'm working on. Then I will sometimes watch the video and compare, like, to see if there's something that I didn't even think to say out loud and skipped over. And then afterwards, after all of that, I will run through my own instructions and see if there are any steps that I potentially missed, or things that need to be further explained. And while I am doing this, if it's something on a computer, I am also taking screenshots of each step and describing the screenshot and highlighting, you know, okay, cool, whatever field it is that needs to be filled, that field gets highlighted to show somebody, like, this is what you do. I've done a little bit of this for, like, working on cars and things like that, and some, like, I put up a sheet of sewing instructions that's kind of in the same way, where it's, you know, trying to just be very explicit, demonstrating something in as simple a way as possible, with, like, very split up tiny iterated steps. So like, it's one of those things where it's like, it sounds intuitive, but there's that, if there's that line, if you try to make something idiot proof, they're always going to find a way to build a better idiot. That's there. You're going to be shocked at the way that people will misinterpret your instructions. So documenting troubleshooting is interesting because troubleshooting is so when you're doing documentation for stuff, if you're expecting people to follow a set of instructions, what you are doing is you are trying to eradicate intuition. You are trying to get a set of instructions that is explicit enough that anybody can follow it. Anybody off the street can walk in, follow step by step by step by step to do what you need done. That is not a process that allows for troubleshooting because troubleshooting is something that requires a lot more experience and intuition. Now, you can start troubleshooting with very little experience. Basically, the best way to start troubleshooting anything is to describe your problem and see what people say about it and see what possibilities match up with it. This is something that I do with cars. I talk about this with cars and with household repairs and things like that. Probably more than almost anything else, because a lot of issues that are problems on the computer are things that people have documented really, really extensively, but your car might sound different than somebody else's car when it's doing this. Car guides, like the teardown guides, frequently do have troubleshooting steps in them, and they're really basic little baby steps of okay, cool, drive your car and turn the wheel, and do you hear an unusual sound when you turn the wheel? Does this happen when it's doing this, that, and the other thing? Have you checked this fluid or that fluid, because that may be causing that? So, okay, how does documentation for errors and bugs work? So if you're it, it's also going to depend. I don't tend to do that. I don't tend to do any kind of code documentation, programming documentation. So for stuff like that, you're going to probably be better off looking up guides that people have written on almost any open source project is going to have a basic guide for how to document bugs. So LibreOffice, I think, has a beginner's guide to bug bounties and things like that. So the very frustrating thing about turning on and turning off the computer is how frequently it works. So computers are not smart machines. And sometimes they'll just get stuck doing something for no particular reason, and it's just a weird little setting or a weird little bit of code. Zoom for my office has had a problem for the last week where it's popping up a little icon for a chat that I was in a couple of weeks ago that I deleted, and the program still thinks that I'm in there, but I've removed myself, so it's just this empty icon in a chat that I can't see anymore. And I'm essentially just going to have to reinstall Zoom because Zoom just thinks that it fucking sees it, and that's going to be the thing that fixes the problem. And it's not worthwhile to spend a ton of time digging through and finding that, because frequently what's happening is your computer is flipping out because you've got a lot of RAM being utilized from it remembering something that happened 3 days ago, 3 hours ago, whatever it is. The restart your computer thing is also frequently advised because people are bad about how frequently they restart their computer. I'm bad about how frequently I restart my computer. If you're somebody who restarts your computer every day, restarting your computer may not be the thing that solves your problem. It may be, depending on what's causing the problem. But if you're somebody who restarts your computer every 3 weeks, yeah, that's going to make everything on your computer happier and may fix the problem that you're having. So, okay, you managed to accidentally find a way to reliably crash AutoCAD. So that I would say reach out to actually the program itself probably has the option to send crash reports, but also there's likely going to be a support forum for AutoCAD specifically, and if you found a way to reliably crash it, what I would recommend is go through and do that, and again, take screenshots as you are doing so. Document it, document what version you're on and everything like that. Actually, there's a very good way to figure out how to document bugs and errors and things like that. Go look at the Mozilla Firefox forums. That is where people will talk all the fucking time about how they document errors, how they reproduce errors and things like that. like every thread on like errors and bug reporting in the Firefox forums is like pretty in depth and pretty hardcore. Same deal with the Bitwarden forums. Like the I love open source nerds. We're so awful. So but yes, Amelia Bedelia proofing your instructions. You want to pretend that your instructions are being interpreted by a malicious genie. So yeah. So the other thing is like Kit Kats now. The other thing about this, if you're teaching people who are non-technical about stuff, one of the things that people tend to freeze up around is not knowing how they can break things. So explaining one of the things that is very helpful in documentation is explaining what doing something wrong will do. So, if you're saying, fill this field and do this, that, and the other thing, and if you fill this wrong, it's going to prevent an invoice from being generated later. Say that there, because then people will know why it's important and will pay more attention to it. But if you do that because it's part of the process and it's part of the process because it's part of the process, then it's not super duper necessary to document. So figure out what the impact of a failure in that instruction is going to be, and be as explicit as possible while also not being overly technical. So, but yeah, it's kind of the way that I always describe it when I'm talking to people at work about it. And, we use the example I always use because it makes me fucking insane is configuring a desktop. And configuring a desktop, the instructions should include everything from open the box to, how you were setting up like the BitLocker key or where you're storing the BitLocker key. Like it's going to be a long document with a lot of steps because you ideally want like a completely untrained college student who has never touched a computer before to be able to walk in and follow your instructions step by step by step by step by step to do the thing and make it happen. And if you can also get somebody who is non-technical to like test your process, like if there's somebody who you can throw the list out and say like, hey, can you walk this through and tell me any places where you're not sure of something, that is invaluable for making sure that you've got good documentation going. And it's basically like you're asking a human to be your rubber duck because there's just stuff that you're not going to see. It's and if you don't have somebody to do this, it's the same instructions that I give for essay writing, which is read your paper to a tree, read your documentation to a living thing. It doesn't have to be a human being, and it doesn't have to be an animal, but read it out loud to something to see. Is there something that I skipped over? Are there words that are out of place? Is there something very obvious that I assumed that people would understand that isn't listed there? And what you can do with a lot of this stuff is you can front load a ton of descriptions and definitions at the beginning and then kind of assume later that people who have read the early documentation will be at least familiar with the concepts that are explained later in the documentation. So you don't need to redefine a thing every single time. It's like if you're using an abbreviation in like AP style or something like that, you state the full phrase the first time, then, parentheses, explain what the abbreviation is, and then from there on out, and I think I do this in some of my posts too, where it's like when I'm talking about password manager, first I'll say password manager, parentheses, PMW, and then through the rest of the post, I'll sort of just refer back to PMW, or, two-factor authentication. First type out two-factor authentication, and then 2FA, and if it's something that's like divided into chapters, maybe at the beginning of each chapter, you again redefine those terms. But yeah, front load that, and then you don't have to worry about putting that amount of detail throughout the rest of it. But it depends on your audience. It depends on how much you think people are going to be reading it. A lot of people just don't read the fucking manual, which is frustrating. And the other thing is to, like, if you're working on this and you're working with like a project manager or something like that, ask what the level of effort expected is. Like, at a certain point, you have to say, fuck it, ship it. Get the thing done, get the thing out, documented to the best of your ability, but don't let perfect be the enemy of good. You don't want to end up, writing a map that exactly duplicates the territory. Like, it can't be too detailed, too comprehensive, or it is going to be unwieldy and unworkable. So, in some cases, that level of documentation is necessary. Flight checklists, that level of documentation is necessary, but for a lot of like softwares, it's not. But if it's a software that's working with something that's like super duper vital or like radioactive or something, yeah, okay, that's probably going to need some excessive detail. So, um, um, uh, 379 days uptime, Linux is pretty stable. um, so yeah, talking about turning computers off. Sorry, I once again started talking and stopped reading. So yeah, it's also best to turn your computer off at the end of the day simply because your computer uses a lot of power while you're not using it, and like vampire power, ghost power, whatever it is they call it, like uses a lot of power. We can save energy. I mean, individual energy use versus like corporate energy use is like one thing or another. But like, hey, if you're trying to reduce your battery power, fine. So, and yes, not having a battery in your laptop will force you to restart regularly. Uh, And yeah, the Bixby has a really good point for here. It's easy to assume portions of the process are natural. It's the XKCD, non geologists only recognize a couple of silicates and quartz and it's like, of course nobody recognizes those chemical formulas except for the people who are very specifically in there. So you have to ask, what is the silicate chemistry of your project? What is the thing that you can't assume the knowledge of? And it's something that is actually like a lot of people struggle with, not knowing what people don't know. Like, so it's worthwhile to also talk to the people who are going to be using the product that you're putting together, or like, some kind of audience that's close to it, and finding out what their level of knowledge is instead of assuming. So I don't know. I have no idea if that's helpful at all. So, okay, cool. That's super helpful. Yeah, there is an XKCD for everything. How often would I explain how things break? So for the like navigating to the file thing, that's the kind of thing where like you can almost think of instructions like that as like glossary terms. So early in the process, you explain, okay, so, turn on the program, navigate to a file by going blah, blah, blah. After you've explained that early on, you can assume that they know how to navigate to a file, and you can parenthetically put, like at the beginning of each chapter or subsection or whatever, if you're saying it again, navigate to the file, parentheses, see section 1A, but only even do that see section 1A the first time that you're doing it in that section. So, if you're starting section 2B and navigate to the file, see section 1A, and, then later on in 2C, you just say navigate to the file without putting the even parenthetical after that. So just to like save yourself and people time, like, it's assuming familiarity as people get deeper in the process, or like building in an expectation of familiarity so that people will start fucking acting familiar with the process. So the things break, how things break. So this is, if you've ever seen a For Dummies book, this is something that I think that they do pretty well, which is they go through and like they'll have these little alert sections periodically, only explain how things break in sections that are pertinent to the thing breaking. So like, I guess you can also sometimes kind of see this in recipes. Like, if somebody is talking about making caramel and they are talking about washing down the sides of a pan, they will frequently explain, wash down the sides of the pan with a damp brush to avoid crystallization. So that to avoid crystallization is explaining how the process of making caramel can break if you don't do it properly. So doing that almost sort of parenthetical aside, or putting like a little asterisk or a little like danger symbol or something, and then just doing like a 2-sentence explainer on like the side as a sidebar, the way that Dummies books do, can be very, very helpful. But only do it in the places where it is pertinent to the way that it will break. You can also, depending on the level of documentation they're expecting from you, do both like a glossary and an index. And I frequently do this when I'm writing something that's like that. This is part of what's causing my password manager book to become insane is the amount of glossary and index work that I'm doing, because I really do want to explain in a very, very granular way for people who are non-technical, like, here's everything you could possibly want to know about password managers. So, you could also, once you've got all of that information about how things break, put that in a glossary and just, refer, or not a glossary, an index, and then just say, for issues with this, that, or the other thing, see index section A or whatever. Or, kind of the same thing as the, referring back to the finding a file, or navigating to the file. Like, eventually, you'll just have to put, index A or index page 203 or whatever it is. But yeah, it's a lot. So, yeah, sorry, that's a, um, yeah, hopefully that explains some things, like, and is parsable. I know that's a lot. So, um, hello, oh, baby girl. She has arthritis in her wrists, so she's limping a little. So, because she sometimes does that when she sleeps a little bit funny. So, it really sucks when you have to be the one who breaks ground on like creating documentation that like is important to have, because there's pressure to do it right, and there's the issue that like if you are the only one doing it, you are going to be the one who creates the tradition, and um, to a certain extent, like it's like, again, ask people what they want from you. Don't assume that you're supposed to. Oh, sorry. Don't assume that it's supposed to be perfect. Don't assume that they want like a super super high level of documentation on it. Like, see if you can get like clarifying guidelines before going all in, because that's also the kind of thing where it's like, maybe they're aiming this at somebody who it's like, okay, well, if they're technical or if they're non-technical enough that they need to ask these questions or need to have this explained, then they are not technical enough to be using the program. So it's also good to go in making sure that you know what your expectations are in this, not just that you want to do the best possible thing. So, yeah, no, the writing the technical stuff, like, it's so funny because that is, like, that's my whole deal in the hacker scene, is that people are bad at communicating technology to non-technical people, and it frequently is out of an assumption of understanding. And with computer people specifically, and specifically with infosec, it is frequently out of like kind of a contempt for non-technical people. And it's something that I see at work, and it's something that I see kind of widespread throughout the industry, and it's absolutely something that is like constant and persistent in infosec. And it's like, you can't be contemptuous of people for doing this. So I'm always trying to, there again, there's an XKCD for everything. I am always trying to approach anytime I'm writing stuff like this as like a lucky 10,000 thing. Like, okay, cool. Like, it's fine that you don't know this. It's fine. And starting from that of like, it's fine that you don't know this. Let me explain. Let me share with you the best I can so that we can both have a good time with this. So just from like a foundational perspective, that's part of how I write about cars and things too. Because I want people to like things. I want people to enjoy things. So, hope that was helpful. I'm going to stop talking about documentation because I feel like I'm just kind of like repeating myself. um, uh,